Hey guys, Kit here. The video is actually a little late. Got caught up with some stuff with some friends and ended up having to wait a few days to do this deck profile. But here it is finally. I know some of you have been waiting for it. This one's gonna be on Symphogear. I know I got some comments for Love Live. I'm actually in the process of getting that one done also, but I'm actually gonna do it on one of my friends' builds since my deck for Love Live is never gonna be finished since I don't own all the cards, and my friend has a really good build that I enjoy playing against all the time, and it has some really cool tech that I think people will find interesting. But besides that, this is going to be the Symphogear deck. It's basically blue green, or not blue green, blue red. That's based on Tsubasa and Maria for the most part. So at level 0, we have 4 of these Tsubasas that gain 1500. If your opponent has 3 or less other characters on their side of the field, and it gains 1500 in a level. This card is kind of like if you played the Shauna deck before. I forget her name. I think it's Hayate or something like that. The one blue card that just pretty much becomes a 4K wall. But this one's like infinitely better because it gains a level also. And what's really nice about this is for your opponent to usually kill this, if they can't beat it by power, it usually requires them to flood the field. And that's usually a pretty bad thing because you're able to, if you have like a good hand or anything, and if they play 3 characters in the front, they usually push you to close to level 1 or something. And what happens is you just played 1 card, force them to play 4 cards, and then you can clear 3 cards the very next turn, and you ended up winning the hand size war right at the start. And then anytime your opponent can't deal with this card at all, usually they avoid it or something, and you just end up plussing 1 basically every turn. The only kind of bad part about this card is that it is only 2/5, and a lot of cards are usually around 3K to 3/5 for beaters. But what's really nice too is that since the power bonus is based on your opponent's field, you can play supports in the back of this and make this pretty big on your turn too if need be. One of my favorite plays with this is have 2 supports, and it ends up being a 5/5 level 1 at level 0, and it's really hard for your opponent to get over. Something else though to worry about is usually doesn't come up that often, but because of the +1 level, people can side it and keep you at level 0 longer. But usually that isn't a problem at all. All right. Next, we have 3 of these 3/5 Marias with the demerit that you can't clock climaxes to draw cards. So basically, it's just going to be a 3/5 beater all the time, and then with support, you can get up to the 4/5, which is really good. The demerit isn't really that bad because if you have a climax in hand that you want to clock, you usually clock it before you play this card, and then if your opponent can't deal with it, it ends up plussing you hand, but that's usually never happens because it's a level 0. I really like this card for the reason that the demerit is non-existent, and the fact that it is Maria. Maria is one of my favorite Symphogear characters, so some card choices in this deck actually got picked up because of my I guess character love for Maria. But besides that, just 3/5 beaters. Next, we have one of my most favorite suicide ability ever. So it's a 1500 suicider. But what's great about this card is whenever it goes to waiting room, you can pay 2 and salvage a character card with Tsubasa in the name. And by the way, this card does have Tsubasa in the name too, so if you ever stuck in a really crappy spot level 0, you can pay 2 and salvage it itself. But yeah, this is basically pluses you 1 once it dies. It's really good at 0 for playing out climaxes and stuff like that, and then later in the game you can just run it in afterwards to pay out climaxes that you're going to trigger. And it's great, just a +1 basically. Next, we're going to move on to the supports at 0. This is one of the key supports in the deck. Basically, a lot of the games I end up using this ability to salvage this card. It's gives a 500 in front, and then tap 2 music. I believe it's music characters. It might just be 2 characters. Let me check. It's just 2 characters, and you can give a character 1 level and 500 power. The one level is pretty relevant. At level 0, you can make it like 3-5 beater or like a support or something. Kill Suiciders if their opponent's forced to play a Suicider against like an empty fill or something. You can end up killing it without losing your character. And then also, it's pretty relevant at level 1 and 2 for level 1 Suiciders, and at level 2 for the change, making a 1-0 change target. I'll talk about that later on after I finish the complete deck profile. But yeah, this card is pretty much one of the most important cards in the deck, and you always want to have this as like out as early as possible. Next, we run 2 Brainstormer Hibikis. They give 500 power to the center, and pay 1, tap 2 characters, and for every mill top 4 of your deck, for every climax you hit, search your deck for 1 music character, add it to hand, and then shuffle. Basically just plussing and then some power. I really like this card. I believe that this isn't one of the Brainstormers that lets you shuffle for no reason. Yeah. Yeah, so you can only shuffle when you actually hit the Brainstormers. A lot of the old Brainstormers, when you brainstorm, even if you whiff, you have to shuffle for deck searchers, but they've been changing the wording around a lot like over the last year, so a lot of them like lost that ability. And then the final card at level 0 is just a one-of this Tsubasa Brainstormer from the first set. It gives global 500 to all your music characters at on your opponent's turn. And then pay 1 Brainstorm. For every climax you hit, you search for a weapon trait character, which is basically almost the whole deck. Some cards do not have weapon trait, but for the all the key cards usually do. You can search out the weapon trait character, add it to hand, and discard a card. This is basically a discard outlet, and then at level 0 and like 1 is another support that's just like really good. It is a spammable Brainstorm, so when you're screwed, climax screwed really bad, you can just mill your deck as fast as possible. Alright, we're moving on to level 1 here. One of the problems with Symphogear originally was that its level 1 game was pretty lackluster, and because of that, it like stopped it from like being super good after like a lot of the meta changed around and stuff like that, and like the power creep happened. But Symphogear G kind of like helped that out a little bit. They introduced this Tsubasa card. It's a 106k. The demerit it has is that it can't side attack. The side attack thing is sometimes relevant, but most of the time it's not. You just gotta be careful with that. But besides that, it's just a 106k, like all the time. So you usually have this around 6.5, 6.7k for free at level 1, which is great. Next, another awesome card in the deck is the 1-0 Maria. It has for every music character you have on your side of the field, it gains 500, so it's a 106k if you have a full field. And then it has a climax combo with Soul +2. When it attacks, you can pay 1, salvage a character, and then yeah, it just pluses you hand. It's pretty great. One thing I love about this card is that you can just like attack in certain order and try to like pay out a climax if you hit it or anything like that. But then again, it's just another 106k. That's just pretty strong. Pretty annoying for your opponent to get over, and it costs like nothing to play. So it's just a great cost-efficient card. Then we have these two 1-0 bond to an event that I'll be showing later. It's the and it gives 500 and a level in front on your opponent's turn. What's great about this card is in the original Symphogear set, it had a bonder like this card, except it didn't have the support ability. But the thing is, it was level 0 in the old set, so it had a problem where like it couldn't be a target for the level 0 couldn't be a target for change. But because this is a level 1, it can actually become a target for change, which I'll explain later on. And also, it's pretty important to show that it does have shift, so you can like clock it, or if you've seen your clock, you can swap cards around and stuff like that, which is really great. And then the final card at level 1. Final card at level 1 is this 1-0 Maria support. It basically has the same ability as the Railgun Brainstorm, which is pay 1, mill 4. For a climax you hit, you can send a cost 0 in your opponent's front row to waiting room. And what's super great about this, or not, this card actually isn't that great. This was one of the cards that I put in the deck because I kind of pulled it as a triple R, and also like Maria's one of my favorite characters. The ability is alright. Sometimes it can like kind of plus you one indirectly if you hit climaxes and stuff. But the 500 in front is kind of relevant. Sometimes you end up playing it at level 1 because you just need the power boost and stuff like that. Or you do need to mill your deck really, really fast because of, say, you get climax screwed. It is a spammable brainstorm. But most of the time you end up leveling that for red in this deck. Then we have two 1/0 1500 counters. Basically just vanilla counter, but my suggestion, I ended up picking the Maria PR counter because Maria is my favorite character, but to make the deck a little bit more efficient, you might want to end up running the Tsubasa counter because then it becomes another target for your change. Next, we're going to move on to level 2. The deck has basically no real level 2 game. Because we focus change into level 3 Tsubasa at level 2. So the only character that's relevant at level 2 is this 2/1 support from the first Symphogear set. What it does is it's level support, so characters in front of this gets 500 times their level. The next ability is when you play this card from hand, you're allowed, you can tap it. If you do, you take the top card of your deck, put it underneath it as a marker, and that marker can be used to pay for events. This is important because Symphogear is one of the few sets that runs change events instead of change characters. But besides that, it's just another way that's like super efficient. It's basically a 2/0 because you're going to change and stuff like that at level 3. Or not level 3, level 2. And then it's a support. It can also become a target itself. So like pay 1, tap, get the marker, and then use that event and the marker, and then sack this card to change into a level 3. But besides that, that's all this card's used for. Later on, I might suggest running like a third one, or maybe even a fourth one, depending on what you do with the deck. But I like it at 2 right now. I might push it up to a third one later. And then the last character at level 2 is just a 2/1 3K Chris counter. Just to protect your Tsubasas at level 3 and other cards, and just to be like kind of annoying to your opponent at level 2. That, and it is Chris. Alright, next is the final card in level 2. A run 3 of these 2/1 event cards for Tsubasa. It's the change. What it is it's a 2/1. Pick one of your, let me just read it directly. Pick one of your level 2 or higher cards with Tsubasa in the name, character cards with Tsubasa in the name, and put it to waiting room. If you do, then you choose the level 3 Tsubasa from your hand and play it on the field wherever you like, and then until the end of your opponent's turn, the card gains 3K. And then the card it changes into is the new level 3 Tsubasa. It has a climax combo with book, but we don't run it in this deck. Maybe later on I'll try it out or something, but right now this is just basically a 13K at level 2 vanilla heal, also at level 3. What's great about this is that it just becomes a really, really big wall your opponent has to deal with for a turn. It's like kind of gets you a card back, but not really. It's just like a really efficient heal because the change only costs 1, but it does cost you 1 character on the field, and sometimes it's like 1 hand if you're like level 1s don't live or whatever. But basically this is your level 2 game for the most part. You do play some at level 3 to, just to heal and stuff like that, or if you just get hit really hard. But besides that, this is basically your level 2 game. Some of you might have like heard, if you're on the forum group and stuff like that, I'm pretty adamant about the old changer being slightly better than this version, just because the old changer does go to memory and it does replace one of the cards in your hand, which is I think a really, really big deal in this, because sometimes you do, if you play very poorly, or like you don't end up getting your soul +2 combo off early and plussing a lot of hand as much as you can, and your opponent's able to kill all your characters all the time, this card ends up costing you like 2 hand really quick for like no reason into the change, and it really hurts your hand late game if you play the deck like really reckless. But besides that, this card is really good. You can still search it out and heal and stuff like that. And the only reason I added this card into this deck, or in this version of the deck, is because I do run the Soul Plus 2 Climax combo, which does eat up some extra stock at level 1. Otherwise, I think the old one's a little bit better. You can try it out yourself, figure out which one you like better. But right now I just run this one just because it's a little bit more stock efficient than the old one. And then the final card in your level 3 is basically your game finisher here, which is 4 Marias, Reincarnate of Fine. I love this card. It's, besides the fact that it is Maria, this card has a pretty good climax combo. It climax combos with the Gate, Declaration of War. And what it does is, on attack, you can pay 2 and top deck a level 3 or lower in your opponent's front row. What's great about this is it helps you kind of control Soul, and also one of the greatest things about this climax combo is that if you're gonna front a level 2 and you only need to deal 1 damage to your opponent, you can side the level 2, pay 2, top deck the level 2, and you end up siding for 1 even though there's no character up there, and it's a guaranteed 1. The only thing you have to worry about is if you trigger. Besides that, it's just also a vanilla heal, or not vanilla heal, but it also heals. But this is one of my favorite combos in the deck, the climax combo. This just does so much work for killing your opponent at level 3, and it's just a great card. And you do end up running 4 gates here of the Declaration of War, so no reason not to run this level 3. And that should be it for the level 3 game. Like I said, you run 4 Declaration of War gate climaxes from the second set, so you can combo with the level 3. You run 1 of the Zweiwing original gate from the first set, just 1, so it comes up to 5 gates for your climaxes, and then you run 3 Soul Plus 2 Horizon Spear climaxes for the ones that are Maria. Alright, I'm going to explain a little bit on some little tricks and stuff that you might not realize with this deck. It should be pretty apparent though. So this event change requires a level 2 target. So like I said earlier, this level 0 support is one of the most important cards in the deck, otherwise you won't be able to consistently get your change off. Your plan usually is to have say like a 1-0 Tsubasa card out. You end up tapping these 2, give it 500 in a level, now it's level 2. You're able to play this event and sack it to play the level 3 at level 2 and heal 1. That's like the main focus of the level 2 game, is just to play the level 1s. So at level 1, you usually want to try to hold off to playing these. Sometimes you do have to, because you just have to, your stuff is dying and stuff like that. Otherwise, you usually try to play a couple of these and climax combo with Soul Plus 2. What's great about running a couple Soul Plus 2 with this climax combo is if your opponent does have a really big field, say you're playing against Vivid Red or something, you are able to side attack their level 2s and level 1s for 2 or 1 and so forth, and you're still able to pay 1 and +1 off of it, which is great. Another thing about this is, like I said earlier about this bonder to the event, this card is when it bonds to the event for 1 stock when it comes into play. So you can get this back, so you don't have to really worry that much about clocking this and hoping to see it again or draw it, because now you have this great bonder to it. And once again, this is a level 1, so when you do bond to it, you end up having a target already there. So once again, you can tap both of them, give it 500 in a level, then play the event and change. This is the reason why I think this bonder is like a million times better than the old one. Alright. I think besides that, nothing else too crazy to really go over. Oh, I guess you can desperate side attack a level 3 and top deck it, and hopefully trigger for 1-2 if you need to, if your opponent's very very compressed. But besides that, yeah, this is just a great finisher card too. Like I said, if there's a level 1 or level 2 in front of you, you can side for 2 or 1 and top deck it, and greatly increase your odds of your opponent not canceling. Yeah. Nothing else here. That's basically the deck. Hopefully you guys do like it and have some fun trying it out yourself if you do run Symphogear cards and trying to look for a build. I'm pretty sure a lot of players who already have this deck already have their own like build or whatever. But this is the current build I'm running. I've won like 1 or 2 tournaments with it, but I don't play that often. This is more of a like when I'm not feeling like super like into playing another deck. I just usually play this because it's like pretty solid overall. Besides that, that is the Symphogear deck. Also, you guys, I would like to know if there's any other type of content you want on this channel. I do want to try to continue doing, if you've seen it before, like the Burn 1 fraudcast I did with Devin from Kira cards. I like to do that again, but like our time and stuff like that is always like mixed up or whatever, and so like sometimes I don't really have time to do that podcast again, but it was a lot of fun. And besides that, let me know in the comments below or anything, like is there any type of other competitive videos you'd like to like see from here, like discussions or anything like that, maybe like tournament discussions or like card of the day discussions. I don't really want to do card of the days discussions, but if you guys want it, I can do it. And besides that, just like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz, I guess. Also, shout outs to Triple Crown. I got like randomly shouted out in one of their videos, so I was like, I'll do the same to them. They're a cool group. They do a lot for the community. They have a really big English community there, and if you're in SoCal, you should check out Triple Crown and also Kira cards. They're probably two of the, I want to say Kira is not a super huge group, but definitely for English, Triple Crown is really big. Kira has a ton of good players if you're looking for like, I guess, high tier Weiss games. But besides that, check them out. Triple Crown, you can probably find them on Facebook too. And then nothing else. Yeah, I think that's it. Just like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.